Good morning. Good morning, babies. Did you like your treats? Hello, friends. Welcome back to Cosmopolitan Cornbread. So I had a little bit of a change of plans. Originally, I was going to be doing some candle making, but I was out doing chores on the morning that you see here when I got a text message from Home Depot where I had ordered my cabinets. They weren't supposed to be in yet, but I was very excited because they had come in early. And so instead of making candles, I headed off to Home Depot and picked up my cabinets after chores were done. And we've gotten a little bit of rain. We finally got our waterfall back. That was such a pleasant surprise the morning I got up to do those chores. It was cold, it was brisk, but it was absolutely beautiful. Winter had finally arrived. So we got to work taking down the open shelving that had been there in the kitchen. You know, I know a lot of people love open shelving, but it is just not my thing, especially when you live on a dirt road and it's dusty in the summertime. Having to wash your dishes before and after you use them is just not a fun situation. So I have been so anxious to get rid of this open shelving and put the normal wall mount cabinets up there on the walls. It would not only keep my dishes and everything dust free and clean, but it would also give me additional space because instead of 2 shelves, I'll have at least 3, maybe even 4 in every cabinet. Little Bean was anxious to help. I ripped off the last scraps of that ugly stick-on fake wood wallpaper and said goodbye to that for good. So the cabinets got hung up, and then the next morning I got to work on making some soup. Like I said, winter had finally arrived, and I thought, what better than some German potato soup? It is full of veggies, potatoes, it has tons of flavor. And to make it even better, it's a slow cooker recipe. I do have a video where I walk through this entire recipe. I will put a link to that video in the video description down below if you are interested in watching it. You can also find the recipe, of course, on my website, cosmopolitancornbread.com. You know, it's interesting when you make videos and put them on the internet, people leave comments, and most of the time I don't have any issues with the comments that people leave. Most people are pleasant, some people are inquisitive, but every once in a while you get the critic, and when you post videos of food, yeah, you get the food critic sometimes. And I remember one time I had somebody comment on this particular recipe and tell me that this is not a German recipe. Well, I beg to differ because not only was I living in Germany when I got this recipe, but this recipe came from my next door neighbor who was a German citizen. So some people may not think that this is German, but I am definitely saying that this is a German recipe. Now, leeks are one of the ingredients in this recipe, and leeks are one of the very few vegetables that you actually clean after you cut it up, because as they come up out of the ground, dirt gets stuck in between the layers. So you chop it all up and then you put it into some cold water, swish it around really good, and then I just let it soak while I'm finishing up the rest of the ingredients. Of course, this being a German potato soup, you need lots of potatoes. I always peel my potatoes underneath a stream of water. For some reason, potato juice really irritates my skin, but it's only when it's raw. I have no problems with cooked potatoes. It's just the raw potato juice, particularly russet potatoes. And so I peel them under the cold water. That way it's continually rinsing the juice off of my hands as I'm peeling them up. And then after I'm done doing that, I go ahead and I scoop out the leeks from the top of the water. They float on top, and all of the sand and dirt tends to fall to the bottom of the bowl that they're in. And so I scoop them out, I put them in my colander, and then I rinse them one more time to get every last bit of dirt off of them before putting them in my slow cooker. And you know, I have multiple slow cookers. And at this point, I was kind of regretting not grabbing my big slow cooker because this slow cooker was really, really full. And I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to quite fit everything in there, but I was able to get it to work. I just had to pull out my frozen block of onions and mix everything up first, and then make space for them and squish them down into the middle of it before I started it cooking. Soup is ready, going in the slow cooker. Now it's time to clean up my mess and get to work on other things. I went ahead and I started spackling the holes in the walls that were there after we took down the shelving. This side of the kitchen has not yet been painted. I was waiting for the cabinets to go in. I'll probably start painting this side of the kitchen this coming week, both the walls as well as the new cabinets. After that, I headed into my pantry to work on a few other things. I had someone ask me about the light that was in there. It's just an old lamp that the previous owners had left here, and it sits down near the floor. So what I was working on today is lining the shelves, or some of the shelves, with cardboard. One thing that I noticed is that jars and bottles don't always like to sit very well on this wire shelving, and so lining it with cardboard helps it be more stable, and then nothing tips over. Having just gotten all of those new cabinets, they come wrapped in cardboard, which was perfect. So I had all of these big pieces of cardboard that I could cut to fit the shelving. Now I'm not going to line every single shelf with cardboard because some of the shelves have really big things on there, and of course they don't need to have cardboard, but any place where I've got a lot of home canned goods or bottles, I definitely wanted to line those with cardboard. Now, many of you know that I love antiques, and I have a few very old cookbooks. This is one of my favorites, and what I love is to open up an old cookbook and find written recipes from whoever it was who once used this cookbook. This one in particular was printed in 1946. It was originally published in 1938 and then printed over and over again. Apparently it was a pretty popular cookbook. One of the neat things is in the very back it had meal plans with menus. Can you imagine being able to cook these things for $20 a week for your whole family of 5? All right, it's now the end of the day and it is time to finish up the soup. Now I like to top this soup with a little bit of crumbled bacon. And this particular bacon is one that I ordered from Asia Standard. It is a beef bacon made from brisket. Because I'm sprinkling this on top of the soup, I like to go ahead and chop up the bacon before I cook it. I just find it to be easier. And of course, a very lean bacon like beef or turkey, I always like to add a little bit of fat to the skillet before I cook it. Usually my go-tos are duck fat or good old butter. This was my first time using this particular bacon. It was absolutely delicious. All right, the final touch of this soup is some sour cream to give it that creamy tang. And I use my immersion blender not only to mix in the sour cream, but also blend some of the soup. You want to make this soup nice and thick, but you don't want to blend the whole thing because you still want it to be nice and chunky too. And top it with a little bit of that crispy bacon. Now a few weeks ago I painted the lower cabinets that were already here in the kitchen an ultra white just like the other ones, just to make them look a little bit nicer, and it was a huge improvement. But eventually these lowers will go away and be replaced by new cabinets. The kitchen is looking so much better. There's still a lot to do, but I'm loving just the changes that we've made to it so far. Now I was really anxious to get the shelf brackets out of the way so that I could hang up my other spice rack, but it wouldn't fit. It was too big, and I had these outlets back there and I really didn't want to hinder my access to them in any way. So I'm going to end up building another spice rack to fit this area. I do have a video where I walk you through that, but we're going to do it again. And you'll see that there is a gap in between these two sets of cabinets. That is intentional, and I have something very special planned for that. But you're just gonna have to wait and see exactly what that is. The kitchen is coming along, and I am looking forward to it. So that is it today, friends. I hope you enjoyed spending time with me today here at the homestead. I will talk to y'all next time.